seems as if when I looked at the case of your land ownership, you're able to pull the records of him being a landowner. When I talked to the people in Russell County at the Russell County Courthouse, they were saying it looks as if he even used his leverage from his land, to help neighbors around him.
Yes. He had a parcel of land that was sectioned off, that had its own record, that he would use as to mortgage to help people. And we had a mule named Ada, and Daddy would mortgage Ada. And when we were children, we were not allowed to harass Ada. By the time we were old enough to be interested in jumping on a mule's back to ride, we were not allowed because Ada was Daddy. She had done so much for him. And he said all he wanted Ada to do for the rest of her life was to lick salt and drink water and eat sweet grass. And we were not allowed to jump. But of course, you do know we rode her back many a day.
That's hilarious. So I seem to get into the, I think it was the Burning Spear newspaper that your sister
had that article.
Yeah, but they said it was a cow. They didn't say Ada was a mule. So thank you for clearing that up.
Oh no, she was definitely a mule. I rode her back many a day.
Oh, that's a really cool story. But it didn't having the land and going out on the farm in Russell County foster in your sister an appreciation for the natural environment and that may have fed her love of environmental justice?
That I'm sure it did. And Daddy was my grandfather was one of those people who was very concerned about things that might happen to the land. He did organic farming, even when organic farming wasn't organic farming. I can remember the community coming in when it was time to burn the fields. So every spring, a different field, you rotated crops, and Daddy was good friends with George Washington Carver. As a matter of fact, my mother met George Washington Carver when she was a little girl. And I was so excited to know about this. And I asked her, well, what was he like? What did he do? She says the only thing she remembered about George Washington Carver was that he made ice cream from the peanuts. Every time she would come, he would make her ice cream from the peanuts, and he would make the ice cream cone from the shell. And that was my mother's contribution to my knowledge of her personal relationship with George Washington Carver. But Daddy, they had a great relationship. And as scientists, my grandfather used to go over to the university over at Tuskegee, and they would make peanut oil, medicinal peanut oil, which my family, my sisters, two of my siblings had sickle cell anemia. And so the horrible pain that they would be in when they were having their crises, this oil that he made would help their joints because your joints swell. So yeah, Daddy was very influential in terms of just the community person because he believed in the community and the unity of the community. And even though he was the principal and he was perhaps the most educated man in our community, we were never allowed. That was never a big thing. It was just Daddy, and the fact that. And what was interesting to me, one of my fondest memories is that he was a no-nonsense man, but he loved all of us. And if Daddy had a meeting going on, he was a loving person. And, and if Daddy had a meeting going on and you had a bump and a bruise outside and you needed some comfort, you could go to the doorway and stand very quietly and wait for him to give you some attention. And then if he beckoned you into the room, you could go right into that big meeting with those people and sit on his lap, and he would hold you there until you got comforted. And then when you would get your wiggle, you was ready to go, and he would let you go back to where you had come from. But to me, when I go back in my memory, that's just such a fond memory of a busy man, who took the time to let a grandchild sit on his lap, even when he had important people visiting him. And Connie it was the same. We all got raised the same. Daddy didn't have favorites. We all got raised the same, and he was a storyteller. So, a lot of who I am, I know comes directly from that line of upbringing. But definitely Connie's roots in terms of social justice and civil rights came right out of that house. Right out of that house. We had, W.B. Du Bois bookshelves were lined with readings in terms of social involvement and what African Americans were doing. If somebody Black had written something, it was on the bookshelf. And so that was one of my memories as well. It came to me once that, all of the stuff that I read as a youth, I got off the bookshelf. Black folks didn't go to the library. It was segregated. There was no library for you to go to. And so Daddy made sure that we had the library at home. And so we were all very, very well read in terms of just all kinds of people's writings growing up.
Thank you. I have a million more questions, but this is not my time to interview you. So I think someone else wanted to ask about her time with Jomo.
Okay, I know very little, but I'll do the best I can. Nobody's here but the two of us, as far as I can see.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's just you and me, and I think someone is raising their hand for a question, but if it's just you and me,
well, I can't see Yomi Goodall. I see the place she's got her hand raised, but I don't see her.
Okay, yeah.
And her mouth, my thing says her mic is on mute.
Okay. Yeah, so your sister talked about the things that concerned her. So you said she got an education in the household, the Nall household, under Professor C.A. Nall, who was educated. I did find that in another person's autobiography, The Life of Annie C. Tuggle. She actually gave a tribute to your grandfather. But then there is you talked about it already, the fact of growing up in the sort of larger community of Tuskegee, and that
we started out in Seale, Alabama, Russell County. We did not move to Tuskegee until I was 9, and Connie would have been 7, I think, second grade. So that's when we actually moved to Tuskegee. But our mother had gone to school in Tuskegee as a middle school and high school student. She stayed with my grandfather's sister who lived there. So go on now, I interrupted you.
No, and then she talked about sort of one of the things that drove her toward seeking a philosophy of freedom, a Black freedom philosophy beyond the civil rights movement, was rooted in the colorism that she saw and experienced growing up. Can you possibly speak to that?
Yeah, Connie you see me, and so Connie was very light-skinned compared to the rest of us. And inside of the Black community, there was always the innate racism because of the slavery mentality that a lot of African Americans, even to this day, have had. And so, in our house, however, she was the underdog, and so we were not always kind to her because of her light skin. But out in the real world, and one of the things that she really hated was her light skin, because she really felt that it was a hindrance to the world and the work that she wanted to get done, because she did not want to get labeled with the favoritism that is often associated with especially African American women who happen to be of lighter skin hue. And so she did not like that as not ever in her life. And so we grew, of course, as we grew older, we recognized how wrong we were in terms, very early on, as a matter of fact. Daddy was about the business of making sure that we understood that about the whole one drop of Black blood thing, you know. So, she's not, you know, you're not, that's not fair for you all to be this way. So it was something that we really got away from very early in life, but it was something that really bothered her, I think, until she understood the fact that it didn't matter. You know, by the time she actually left the planet, she was not too concerned about the fact that she was considered a light-skinned woman.
No, sure.